Thank you, Gary. My name is Edgar Kraus. I'm a research engineer at Texas A&M Transportation Institute. It's my great pleasure to talk about these two projects here today, and they were really based on like earlier work that we did for TxDOT, but I think it was good work, and the Strategic Highway Research Program, thought maybe we should spend a little bit more time looking at these things that were developed and never really taken forward. So we had another chance to work with what we initially developed and like refine it, make it better. Basically, what we're dealing with, and if you're a utility coordinator, then you know exactly what we're talking about. But utilities can be a real challenge on projects that can affect the delays on transportation projects. And a real problem is that often there's a lack of communication. The right piece of information is not available at the time that is needed. So we thought that we could really make a difference with this, developing a prototype. So what we did for the SHARP 2 R15B project, we developed several products. One of them, a utility conflict matrix, and I will actually talk about those three right here. So we developed a compact standalone utility conflict matrix that was intended to be used by utility coordinators without a lot of support by IT personnel. And we also developed a utility conflict data model in a database, which was intended to be the foundation for an enterprise system that could be used throughout the whole agency. And then, of course, we also developed materials to go along with that to explain how the whole system works and how you can use it in the field. Here we'll just give you an idea of what it looks like. This utility conflict matrix. It's a spreadsheet, and it has several columns with information that we think is very valuable to collect during the project development process about utilities and how you can resolve those utility conflicts. Actually, it looks very simple, but a lot of thought and a lot of work went into developing this utility conflict matrix. So we actually collected several examples. I think about 50 examples from around the nations, from various state DOTs, from utility coordinators. We asked them, how do you manage utility conflicts? And there was a big variety. I think the shortest version we got was from one state who said, okay, all I'm interested is the utility owner, the location, the type, and that's it. And then we had other examples, and I think Rick, who's going to speak later on, he still has the record. He had like a spreadsheet of 45 columns with lots and lots of information that he kept track about every conflict, and that's what he needed to go into the meetings and communicate. We thought we wanted to focus on on those columns that we thought were the most important ones that you should use at a minimum so that you could effectively do your job as a utility coordinator. So that's the spreadsheet that we came up with. We actually had in that first matrix that I showed you, we had another column that was talking about a cost estimate. So we wanted to keep track of cost estimates for each utility conflict, but then we had some meetings where we went to state DOT in Arkansas and California and also in Texas, and we quickly noticed there was a lot of confusion about this cost estimate. What are we really talking about? Is this like the initial estimate to remove the conflict, or is this the estimate that it's going to cost the DOT? So we figured out, okay, we can't really deal with the cost information in one column. We had to expand the whole thing a little bit. So we added another spreadsheet that links to the first one, where you can actually keep track of the cost estimates in more detail. Actually, you can have different alternatives on how to deal with the conflict, keep track of those different cost estimates, and then in the end, what you have is some documentation on how you have dealt with a specific conflict. So if anybody ever goes back and says, well, why did you actually move that line out of the way? It wasn't any other way to deal with that. So, well, we did some analysis. We figured out that was the most cost-effective way. We involved the utilities. So that's really a good and positive way to deal with that if anybody ever asks any questions. So the utility conflict matrix has a lot of benefits that we found when we talked to the actual practitioners. First of all, you have a systematic management of utility conflict. It's more of having an idea how to do it systematically, so that utility companies also feel more comfortable dealing with the management of those conflicts. So you have an approach that continues and is repeated, and it is not so much varying across the different regions in the state. That's a huge benefit, not just for the DOT, but also for the companies that you're dealing with. As I was saying, improved tracking, accountability of what it is you're actually doing and managing, the cost estimate analysis spreadsheet, and since it's Excel based, everybody has Excel on their computers, you don't need to call your IT support, and you don't need any manager for the application, so it makes it very quick and easy to implement. This benefit is, but also a challenge, because without an enterprise system, you're lacking the scalability, you're lacking the integration, and sooner or later, you're introducing variety in how the utility conflict matrix are used. People adding columns, people deleting columns, people just creating new tabs, and there's suddenly what you tried and ventured out to do, the integrational aspect kind of goes to the wayside. So that's why we also developed the second product, the data model. And the data model is really something that you need to build an enterprise application. The Strategic Highway Research Program didn't want us to go out and develop a prototype application. They just wanted us to give the DOT the tools to do that themselves in a structured way. So that's why we have this model. So if you're an IT person, you can take that, develop the database, and then develop your application around it. And we have already done all the groundwork for them. We did provide a proof of concept. We did we provided a Microsoft Access database just to show how it would work and to give people an idea of how they could work with it and where they could take it. So that's what we did. But overall, there's nothing really much we can show you, because the focus was on the data model. Now, the benefits of doing this in an integrated approach is obviously that the management of utility conflicts becomes much more efficient. Like if you've ever dealt with Excel spreadsheets, you know that they need to be updated. It's very hard to track your updates. You also cannot really query your data. I mean, you can in a way, but it's kind of cumbersome, and Excel is not really designed for that. So with a database, you become it's a totally different ball game. You have like a lot of flexibility. You can create reports in any way you want, and it's very flexible. A big advantage as well is the automated tracking and accountability. So when you update a spreadsheet, you always have to keep track of either the file name or the file date, or you have another field where you keep track of that. The database takes care of that automatically, so that's great benefit. Limitations, obviously, this is not really implemented like in a couple of days, or you need to have serious support from your infrastructure group, from your IT group, and you have to have like a real plan to move forward and integrate the system with other systems that you already have. So you have to have support from your upper management for that. So here I just wanted to give you an idea of what we think you can do with that utility conflict matrix. Obviously, that utility conflict matrix is a living document, and it shouldn't just be filled out once and then put aside and maybe taken to a meeting, and then that's the end of the story. It should be really updated and used at many stages of the project development process. And on this slide, I'm just showing the 6 typical phases of the project development process. You start with planning at the left, then you have preliminary design phase, detailed design phase, letting, construction, post-construction. So based on the experience that we gathered talking to folks around the nation and with in Texas and many utility projects that involved utility coordination, it really makes a lot of sense to start as early as you can, as early as you get information about utility conflicts, and start populating that matrix and keeping track of that. Typically, that point in time is somewhere in the preliminary design phase, whenever you get information to start moving forward and managing your utility conflicts. If you start at the design conference, which would be the start of the detailed design phase, then you're already behind the curve, and you're missing a lot of opportunity to dealing with the utility conflicts early. So we're thinking around the design conference, there should be an update to the utility conflict matrix. Then maybe at 30% design, 60%, 90%. Whenever you meet with the utilities, typically, and whenever you have a chance to exchange information, to update the information that you received, and to come up with a new version. Also, the utility conflict management should not stop at the end of the design phase. You know, a lot of times, we talk to folks and say, okay, this is where my involvement ends, and this is where we start archiving it. But there's a lot of information that gets lost because there's changes made during the construction phase. There's sometimes new conflicts that are encountered. So there should be definitely some update to that matrix during the construction phase. Okay, let me just grab. Okay. So here I just wanted to highlight, since Rick is going to talk about the implementation of this concept and these products, just wanted to highlight the third product that we developed, which is a one-day training course that talks about, gives you a background on utility conflict management, and then talks about how you can actually use the utility conflict matrix, and gives you some examples, and really helps you take the concept and take it out in the field and apply it to actual real-world problems. So we give an overview of the utility conflict identification. Then we give a few ideas about how to use the database if you're so inclined to do that and there's no enterprise support. And then there's also hands-on utility conflict management exercise, which we thought was very important because it gives folks an opportunity to take like plan sheets, start mocking up where the utility conflicts are, and thinking about brainstorming what kind of solutions would be possible. And we did several of these classes, and that was really always the best part, because you could see how folks that maybe don't interact that often, you know, utility coordinators started off in their own group, and then designers started off in their own group, but sooner or later they all came together, asked questions, say, wait, what can we do? You know, we see this issues here. How can we figure that out? And it was really great to see how people came up with innovative solutions to utility conflict issues. So that basically completed the first part of the project, the Shop 2F15B. We thought it was very successful, and FHWA apparently thought so too, and they said, you know what, let's take the products that you developed and give them to a DOT and see what they can do with them. Let's really put it out in the field and gather some feedback from them to see if it works the way you're saying it will work. So our objective was to work with the Maryland State Highway Administration on a pilot implementation of those products. And we were tasked to give the course, then describe how the products worked, and then, you know, just provide a report on that. So here's the proof that we gave the course. There's the Maryland. There's Nelson. He's the state utility engineer for that. So he went ahead and he gathered all his folks and designers and sat down. And it's about a 2-hour section of the class where they actually go through the plans and identify those conflicts and spend a lot of time coming up with solutions. So after we developed the class and gave the class, Maryland selected 6 projects that were going on at the time, and they were in various stages. Most of them just had started the detailed design phase, but since we had a very compressed project schedule, we couldn't really, you know, take a project in preliminary design phase and follow it all the way through to the end. So we had to take, you know, something that was already doing something, just because we didn't have years and years to work on this research project. But there were 6 projects around the state, and I just want to focus on the MD32 at Day Road in the top left corner because it was very interesting. There was a young designer working on this project, and she was very enthusiastic, and she asked a lot of questions about the utility conflict matrix. She gave us a lot of good feedback, and she worked. She really tried to implement that, what we thought, you know, basically the tools that we gave her. And when she came back after, you know, like about 3 months, we said, "So how did it go? You know, what was it a good idea? What's your feedback? What can we change? How can we make it better?" Well, she said, turned out we did a very detailed analysis of the project. We're just a small project, a couple of miles of 2-lane highway that was expanded to a 3-lane highway, and they found a gas line that wasn't really in the preliminary design drawings, and started discussing how, if this would be a problem, which it definitely was, and how they could deal with the problem. So they involved the gas company, who wasn't aware of the project even. So, but by coordinating with the gas company and figuring out an innovative solution, they said we easily saved 4 to 6 months just on this little small project that would have costed a huge delay. And we also saved the gas company about $500,000 relocating this. This is basically the major finding. There were several other conflicts that were avoided by changing just the sequence of the construction, which was did not really bother the contractor at all. It was just a matter of changing things a little bit around. But it made a huge impact on the utility conflicts that were avoided. So as a result of that, the district they were working in now told us they have a really good relationship with the utilities. They were very happy that they could avoid these conflicts. They saved a lot of money. The district was happy because the project were able to be completed on time. And as a side effect, they also said that it created a whole new dynamic within the district. Like, people talked to each other that hadn't talked much before. So overall, they were very happy with this. They also said because it was a new approach on how to deal with things, like really thinking about how can we avoid something that's there, and so that we can avoid these conflicts and the delays. It made them really think out of the box and come up with new innovative thinking, and they really liked that. And as I was saying, it really facilitated the teamwork within the group. So that was really another side benefit, that it's really hard to put into monetary gains, but to the district it made a real difference. So after we summarized all this feedback and came up with our report, the FHWA decided, okay, let's expand this this project a little bit, and now, as of the round 3 of the joint FHWA ASH2 implementation assistance program, this project became part of that, and 8 lead adopter states were chosen, including Texas. And now I'm going to turn it over to Rick Hanks, who will share with you some of his real-life experiences and how Texas is planning to move forward with the implementation. Thank you.